Can it be sent to me after?
Okay, thank you very much. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to WCEG Talk Radio. You're listening to the new WCEG Network on WCEGTalkRadio.com. Go to the website and click our stream tab, or you can watch us live on your smart TV. Just go to YouTube and go to your search bar and type in WCEG Network once you get to YouTube. I am Vincent Cheeks, your show host of Conversations in Education for the next hour. We are the worldwide community empowerment group where we speak life into the community. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and on Instagram at WCEG underscore talk underscore radio and at WCEG Network. Last but not least, the topics and opinions are those of the show host and guest and not of WCEG Network. Thank you for your continued support. And Happy New Year, everyone. And thank you for coming. We have our second guest just joined us. Thank you, right on time. But before we get to him, let's get to our main guest, Miss Lisa Norwood. How are you, ma'am?
We're live. Thank you. How are you, Vincent?
I am excellent. Thank you, ma'am. Happy New Year to you. And
Yeah.
Mr. Rudolph, Mr. Durant, how you doing, sir?
Doing pretty well. How you doing today?
I am pretty good. Mr. Durant, if you could just give us your title and tell us what you do with Mothers Raising Sons.
So again, my name is Rudolph Durant Jr. and I am the director of mentorship at Mother Raising Sons.
Okay, excellent, excellent. So yes, we have Miss Lisa Norwood and Mr. Rudolph Durant. They are from the organization Mothers Raising Sons, and we're going to get into what that organization is all about. And we're going to get into some of the things they have upcoming for the new 2021 year. So with that being said, let's get started. So, Miss Norwood,
Yeah.
why did you start this organization, Mothers Raising Sons?
Well, at the time in 1999, I was a single mother raising three sons, and I was searching for an organization that would provide educational support for me and mothers on raising boys or rearing boys and mentoring for my sons. I had no family in Georgia, and my sons desired and needed positive male role models in their lives, or at least
Right.
that's what I wanted for them.
Yeah.
Um, not stating that their fathers wasn't in their life, but he wasn't there as they needed because he had a new family. But our main attention was his main attentions were elsewhere and had another family. So we were blessed, regardless of the breakup and the heartache, because we had
Right.
children together. We remained cordial through it all. Time allowed us to become friends again. And it started out for the boys' sakes, and then it developed into a godly love for each other. So we accept each other's new life. But our boys needed more attention.
Okay. Excellent. And how did your experience as a single mother and working in the juvenile justice system contribute to you starting this organization?
Well, being employed as a supervisor in Georgia, which was the second largest in Georgia, I was aware of the numerous programs for boys already in the system, but nothing to prevent them from becoming a first-time offender. My sons were wonderful, and they did not. I didn't have any problems with them, with none of them. Which that was something that I wouldn't allow anyway. But because they were good, they were good, well-mannered boys. But also I wanted to maintain that standing, and surely I didn't want them to be part of my workplace.
Right. Okay. And Mr. Durant, let me bring you in here. Um, how did you come to be a part of Mothers Raising Son organization?
So actually, divine chance.
Divine chance. I like that.
Yeah, Miss Norwood was actually sending out some invites, and she was looking for a host at one point, but I had missed that opportunity. So me personally, I am a mental health advocate and a perspective coach, but life coach for simpler words. And I'm all about mental health and people development. So The actual host ended up canceling, or he had to reschedule last minute, and I was available. She had me listed as her backup. And so we ran one event, and then from there, we just kept talking and kind of blossomed into this role in our relationship moving forward.
Okay, excellent. And so you mentioned being a mental health advocate, and we all know that mental health is very important for individuals in as a community, but also we know that in the Black community, mental health has a negative stigma. So what are some of the things that you do to help individuals or communities overcome the negative stigma of mental health?
You kind of make it a conversation. I think that it starts with making it regular. A lot of people try to dress it up. So
Okay.
the coach, I have to reenact myself all the time as an alternative form of counseling. I don't tell anyone not to be a therapist, but when you think about therapy, it sounds scary, and even just the traditional environment is something that most people don't really want to do.
Right.
I'm someone that could function as just an average conversation person. We can sit down on the couch, we can sit down in the park, we can go wherever you want. Just making it feel like a more homey experience, and also making people feel more comfortable. A lot of us aren't really comfortable with our spaces because we're always feeling like judgment is upon us, or you're not as strong the minute
Right.
you say something. Like the minute you say I'm hurt in the Black community, it's almost like you're getting kicked out. Yeah,
Yeah,
tough,
they
you know.
pounce on you. Yeah, they pounce like.
And it's sometimes that strength can actually become a crutch, and just being aware of that and trying to make sure everyone's comfortable with that. You know, weakness is a strength. Make sure we can all talk and understand, and that it's just about peace of mind.
Right, and now what you're talking about is people being vulnerable, really, in that space. And I can tell you right now, as a Black man that grew up in the hood, that was not something that you were told to be or taught to be, really. Um, and so, some of how can how can we take that kind of information and instill it in our young men to let them know that it's okay to be kind of vulnerable and let their emotions and feelings show? Because I can remember being told as early as a 5-year-old boy, stop that crying, man up, what you doing? And so I know I started to, like, when I had emotion, just kind of repress it and not really express that. So how do you get that message across to young men?
I think it starts with coming and meeting them where they are, and
Okay.
being a friend first. I think that's the key to vulnerability. Like you
Yeah.
said, vulnerability is something that it exists spatially. You know, you may be vulnerable with your mother or your best friend, but you may not be vulnerable on top of a stage.
Right. Yeah.
Vulnerable in the front of a classroom, and just making sure that you instill that comfortability within a person. You have the confidence to speak on how they feel or how they're thinking whenever they're asked, or even whenever they feel the need to. Obviously, you teach time and place, but you don't want to stifle, like you said. And
Right.
environments have a way of stifling for you. A teacher may have said it to you, a coach may have said it to you, someone man up. But then when you talk about the word man, last time we broke it down? Like, when was the last time we kind of identified man and what a man is and what a man should be?
Okay. You're right about that. Now that's true. And I didn't have a whole lot of examples growing up, until my uncle and then eventually my stepdad came into my life. But you're absolutely right. So thank you for that, sir. I appreciate you, and I appreciate you doing that work too, because I know that's got to be some heavy work to do. So thank you for that, sir. Okay, Miss Norwood,
Yes.
back to you. In your bio, you state that you stepped out on faith, resigned from your management position at the Department of Juvenile Justice, and then you birthed Mothers Raising Sons. Could you kind of describe for us a little bit what that process was like for you?
Well, first it was at juvenile court, not the Department of Juvenile Justice, because those
Okay, juvenile court.
different,
Okay.
yeah, two different places. After witnessing an extensive high volume of males being raised by a female alone in the juvenile justice system, it became apparent that there was a need for a support group. And then one of my employees brought a 6-year-old mother she was bringing her 6-year-old son and said that he needed a probation officer. And that just kind of stunned me, you know. Yeah,
What?
6 years old, and she didn't know what to do with him. She said, y'all need to take him. I don't know what to do with him. I don't know if it was a scared tactic for her or what. But after that, I just prayed, Lord, what is it that I need to do? And God answered and told me to start a nonprofit. And I'm like, what? Do I what? And and I prayed again because I didn't think that was the right answer. So God said, yes, start a 501c3. A 501c3. And I'm like, I didn't know really the process of what that was. And he told me to step out on faith and trust him. And I still question God, you know, several times. Why me? And you have to be careful what you ask for, because I did say, what is it that I could do?
Right.
So you have to be careful what you ask for. And I asked him, why me? And he said he'll be there and he'll provide the people that I need. The um the mountains will be ant holes, and you know you can't stand on the ant hole too long because they'll bite you, and I'm allergic to them. So I want to make sure I, you know, kept on point and did what he said. So I asked my family and friends, you know, what should I do? And after many prayers, I became obedient, regardless of what my friends and family said. You know, you're gonna leave your job. You get paid well. You know, you got benefits, and you're gonna quit your job. But when God tells you to do something, be obedient. So that is what I did. So I stepped out on faith and quit my job, not knowing, you know, what was next. And here I am over 20 years later. You know, God did everything he said he was gonna do, providing for me.
Right. And that's kind of what I wanted you to touch on too, is like the process of you having uh a stable job, like you said, with benefits and all of that, had to be very tough to say, I'm gonna leave this
Yeah.
comfort zone, because that's what it is, and
Yeah.
step out on faith, like you said, and go into a direction and down a path that you didn't really know a whole lot about at all. So what would you say to people who are kind of at that crossroads in life? Because you know we all come to that crossroads, and it's either you can either stay in your comfort lane, or you can go down the other path and get a little bit uncomfortable, but then you walk into a whole nother world of greatness that you didn't even know you had yourself. So what
Exactly.
would you say to
It's like
somebody that's
walking
there?
into your destiny, you know. You're
Yeah.
not sure of what's next, but when you have it in your heart and you know you're doing the right thing and being obedient, you just have to do it. I don't know my next step for my next now. I'm older, I'm a lot older. So I it's like, okay, God said do this. And I'm like, I don't ask too many questions anymore. At one time I had to know ABCD, you know, the steps. So what's gonna happen
Yeah.
next. And now it's like, I'm going this road, and wherever it leads, it's the right way for me. You know, so it's just stepping out and like I said, stepping out on faith, you know, and that is what faith is, stepping out to the unknown, not knowing
Unknown.
what's next, you know. So
Yes,
you're
ma'am.
obedient, and you know, I mean, it was something within me. And then also it was my passion. You know, I have 3 sons. So it can only, to me, it was only divine intervention to follow what God was telling me to do, and that was
Okay.
just trust Him. So that's what I did, just trust Him.
And see, I love to hear stories like that. And then we at WCEG love stories of faith. You know, Penny's a pastor, so anything regarding faith and God and all that, we love that here at WCEG. So I love to hear stories like that. I have my own. I used to be an Atlanta public school teacher, and I taught during the Atlanta public school cheating scandal. And that whole thing for me just opened my eyes to how our children were being intentionally miseducated.
Mm.
And for me, I it really didn't sit well with me. Me being an inner city child myself, and I saw myself in all of the children that I taught. And so once I got fed up with that whole situation, God was like, "You need to quit and you need to do something else." And I was like, "I'm making $40,000 a year. I got good benefits. What are you talking about? Quit."
Yeah.
But it was like you said, it was something in my heart that I couldn't stay there and be a part of that process any longer. Doing that to children, looking in their face every day, knowing that we're supposed to be educating them, but we're socially promoting them, pushing them through to the next grade when they weren't prepared and cheating on the statewide test to get money and all of that stuff. So it just was not sitting well with me. And so God was like, go build your own school. And I was like, build my own school? That's a lot of, what are you talking about? But I had to do that same thing. I was going to either listen to my heart or I was going to stay in my comfort zone. And the comfort zone was too uncomfortable for me. So I just had to make that move. And so when I read that you did the same thing, and I've met some other people who've done the same thing, I just love to hear their stories and hear how they got to be where they are today. So I congratulate you for that, because a lot of people don't make that move. A lot of people let fear and negativity and negative thoughts, keep them in that comfortable place. So I'm sure you can inspire a lot of people with your story alone.
And to me, fear and faith can't stay in the same room for too long. So
Amen. Amen. I I am with you on that one. And
yeah.
that's something.
And then also that led me to I received 2019 the Georgia Women's Legislative Caucus Servant Leadership Yellow Rose. I was awarded that because I stepped out on faith and was doing what my heart and my passion is. And also they made Mothers Raising Sons Day at the Capitol too on March the 20th. So it was House Bill Resolution number 428. So you don't know until you go ahead and follow your dream, until you just step forward. So out of all of that fear, of being afraid, but once you do, it's like a relief.
Yes, it is. You're absolutely right. And Miss Penny wrote, comfort zones are comfortable, but nothing grows there.
Yeah, I like
So
that.
that was deep. Miss Penny dropping some jewels right here. Thank you, Pastor Penny.
Yes.
So Ms. Norwood, your mission states that you establish needs, educate minds, enthuse godly gifts and talents, and empower purposes for proper guidance and positive family structure. That is a mouthful. Could you please break that down for our listening audience, please?
Yeah, I believe education starts at home first. Yes, our family, teachers, counselors, and pastors' input are necessary, but the development for our children, education starts at home. So it is important. One is to establish what the needs are. Finding out what they need as far as support, mentoring, resources, tutoring, or life skills, and then educating. We have to educate the minds for future education, graduating from high school or further education, or for a career path, or even being an entrepreneur. But we need to teach them life skills. So educating them on what they need for life, whether it's anger management or stress management, or communicating, how to resolve conflict. So that's educating them. And encouraging, to me, that's important too. The encouraging their godly talents, abilities, and gifts. Allowing them to explore the possibilities of their interests, and also exposing them to new opportunities that they're not aware of. So it's important. And also empowering purposes. I think we're here more than just for one purpose in life. So I say purposes, and that's inspiring and allowing and letting them be enthused by their goals and their purposes. You can have a purpose like in elementary or middle school and in stages of life. I think we have purposes. So it's not just one purpose that we're here. I think we have purposes. So we want to empower them to whatever it is.
Okay. And I absolutely love that part about enthuse godly gifts and talents.
And abilities. I had to add abilities.
And abilities.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, gotcha. And I want to speak to that for a minute, because when I was teaching, one of the things that I realized was that, I put on I had a hip hop dance team because that's what I did in college. And then I put on a talent show for the school and invited the other students to perform, also. And one thing I discovered was that our children have a lot of gifts and talents and abilities at a very early age, because I was teaching elementary school. And so I just discovered that these children are so talented and smart when it comes to something that they want to be smart about. Okay. Because a lot of my children, I taught in Bankhead, a lot of the children were smart when it came to doing devious and nefarious things. Let me just tell you. Okay. They really, and I was there trying to redirect that energy, like, young brother, young sister, you so smart, but you gotta put it in the right places. You're not doing the right things. And so me realizing that our children were so gifted and talented early made me realize that if you give children something that they want, they will give you what you want in return. Meaning, I was able to use my dance team and use the children being in the talent show to get them to act right in class, to get them to respect their teachers, and to get them to stop bullying and fighting each other so much. Because, I let them know that if you're going to be part of this, especially the dance team, you're in a leadership position and you can't continue to go around the school trying to bully other children and being disrespectful to teacher and things like that. So if you give the children a little bit of what they want, they'll give you a whole lot back in return. So I definitely appreciate that enthusing godly gifts, talents, and abilities, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, can you please tell us your motto and what it means?
Our motto is: a mother cannot be a father nor a positive male role model to a son, but she does a great job in playing the role. And I kind of changed it because I used to say a mother cannot be a father nor a positive male role model to a son, but she tries to play a role. And then the mother's like, oh, wait a minute, I do a good job. And it is, they do a good job, but a mother cannot be a man, and she cannot be a positive man to him at all. And
Right.
so, but she we do a great job in playing a role. I was out there playing basketball with my boys and their friends, throwing the football, doing the things that a father would normally do with his son. But there was a lot of things that I couldn't teach him, how to tie a tie properly, use
Right.
the restroom, correctly, or how to put and shine his shoes. There's a lot of things that men teach them that a mother cannot do.
You're absolutely right. And I think that is wonderful. So have you seen, I know for me in the past couple of years, 3-4 years, I've seen a lot of when Father's Day rolls around, if the father's not around or whatever, mothers are now telling their friends Happy Father's Day and sending them Happy Father's Day cards and doing things of that nature and just really saying, I don't need a man to be here because I can do X, Y, Z for my son. What do you think about things like that?
Well, that's just like saying when the father's not there or he left, telling the little boy that he's now the man of the house. That's
Right.
not true,
Yeah.
So that's something that I never did. You're not the man of the house, because that'll give them another mindset, I'm in control. And they're a little boy,
It is a lot of pressure.
yeah,
That's a lot of pressure too.
that's not right. So, I just say no. I was at a conference one time. It was a federal conference, and it was a bunch of women and a few men were in the group. And I said my motto, and oh my God, I got so much negativity. It's like, I'm a father to my son, and da da da. And I'm like, but you're not a man. How can you be
Right.
a father? It's a man, it's a mother and a father. You have to be one or the other. You can't be both.
Right.
You play that role, but you can't be that man or that father figure to their son, no matter how hard you try. But
Right.
and then the men were in the group, and I'm like, hey, can she be a mother? I mean, can she be a father? He's like, no. I'm like, stand up and say something. It got out of control. And I'm like, oh wow, And you're right. I remember sending my mother my sister sent my mother a Father's Day card.
Okay.
That no, you can't be a father, no, a positive male role model. No
Yeah,
matter if you dress the role or whatever, you just can't do it.
you're absolutely right, Mr. Durant. I want to get your thoughts on that also. What do you feel about the motto and these women that are saying that I can be the man, and I've had women tell me I'm his mother and his father, so I can say I'm the man and I can do this and do that?
So it's interesting. Now, I agree, but then I've also had the live experience and had to give that credit. So another reason I was attracted to the organization was the fact that I came from a single mother home, and my older sister was kind of like my father. They kind of, I think that was my disciplinarian, I guess.
Okay.
And then I had a stepdad. It was like a varying situation. So I do have to kind of tip my hat to mothers that succeed in that realm. It is no easy task, especially.
It is not.
But then she shocked me when she said that you're the man of the house thing. And I was like, The pressure of molding a man is something that, like she said, like Ms. Norwood was saying, it takes the community, especially if there's not one person charged with it. It's going to take community because of just exposure levels. And I would never knock a woman, especially because now we have two female families. So anything is possible. But I do think that having male role models present throughout the life of the young man is important. And that could be football coaches, pastors, teachers, just that different level of exposure. Because like we said, in terms of defining what a man is, that's kind of so in array at this point that we just have to give the youth as many opportunities to gravitate towards the man he wants to become. Let me say it like that.
I like that.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, his goal is not to become the mother. So he may want to be kind of strong like his football coach, but then he may want to be sensitive like his teacher, or as smart as his teacher. He could do whatever he wants, but he needs that opportunity, that exposure, just to see what kind of men there are, so he can determine what man he wants to be.
Okay, and I'm gonna stay there because my producer asked a question. She wants, and this is for both of you, but since you're already speaking, Mr. Durant, we'll start with you. What is the definition of a man? Like, what should we be telling our young men what the definition of a man is?
As of right now, personally, I'm not sure I have a concrete answer.
Okay.
I think that it is something that you choose. So a lot of what I do is rooted in individuality in terms of my own personal coaching. So every man has the right to be whatever man he wants to be.
Okay.
Especially when you look at the world, right now the whole gender role thing is pretty big amongst all ages. Women are diverse creatures, and they get to be something new every single day. A man is expected to be tough, strong, and rigid all the time. That's the standard.
Yeah.
So at this point, it's really more so where I'm at. Like, I don't want to tell someone that's not manly anymore. Now, there are some things that I can't lie. They are rooted in my brain that I know is like, but I do my best to just let everybody. That's why I said that last piece about the exposure to different men, because being like me may not be the man for you.
Right. Yeah. I see that. Gotcha.
So I just think that we should make sure that we are kind of looking to define that manhood thing. And even, like you said, in your individual households, what a man is and what you're trying to instill in the youth around you, whether it be your kids, your little cousins, your nieces, and your nephews. Just being intentional about what we're calling manhood and what we're calling non-manhood.
Right.
Remember when we couldn't wear pink? That's a color.
Pink and purple. Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Like, those are colors. Yellow. Like, there are certain things, R&B. Like, there are certain things that are so strange that the details have to be kind of.
Yeah. Okay. You're right. But you're right, though. Good points. Thank you, sir. Ms. Norwood, what about you? What is a man, a father, a dad? What should we be telling our children, our young men?
I like his answer. I'm going to just stick with that.
He did have a good answer.
Yeah, that was a good answer. Because nowadays it's like, oh, what is a man? So yeah, and it's different than how it used to be. So to protect, provide, to be there, a comforter, God-fearing, a leader.
Yes.
So yeah, but I just to add on to his statement. Yeah.
There's only two things that I can definitely say that a man should be, in my opinion, and that's a protector and a provider. If you do you do those two things, you got a good foundation with me already. Everything else can be have a little flexibility to it, but those two definitely in the category. So thank you all for that answer. Ms. Norwood, what are some of the programs that MRS has, Mothers Raising Sons?
Well, one of them that we're really excited about is what we always did, mothers and sons separate support group, but because of the COVID, and God gave me this 5 years ago to do e-mentoring. And e-mentoring is where it's online, virtual. So it's where the boys can communicate their concerns and issue with adult men or older peers, to provide their suggestions and ideas to their issues and concerns. So, so we're launching it, and it's a free e-mentoring online mother and son separate support group where the boys can express themselves or what they're going through and give some life and be given some life skills on how to handle certain things. And with the mothers, we provide the mothers the opportunity to voice their concerns and identify issues that are affecting the family for themselves, so that they can receive feedback. And back in the day, we used to just have all males give feedback, but now, because we have a shortage of men giving back as mentors, we have wisdom women. So the women are the ones that have already experienced whatever our young mothers are going through now. So they give them some advice and on their issues and concerns. So it's two separate groups, and we do it according to an appropriate age range and the grade. And we also do in person too, but we'll get back into that when the COVID is over, you know, next year. But we're launching, it's a free email online mother and son separate support group that is nationally. So you can live anywhere in the I want to say the world, but we just do it national right now.
Right, yeah.
Because it's going to be online. And it's right now we're doing the weekly from January to March. And we ask for a commitment of 1 week, 1 hour weekly to commit. And right now we only have like 10 slots open, available, because all the other slots are closed, but we will be opening now. So we're launching, and this is like our pilot program to find out the do's and don'ts and what we need to improve on. So, and also we're looking for mentees in Henry County in the 4th and 5th grade. This is Henry County only, but we also doing the middle and the high school nationwide. So anywhere in the country, if you know a mother that is needing some assistance with her son and needing mentoring, or also the mother, you know, to keep them sane, you know, we have those wisdom mothers. Another program that we do conferences, workshops, and seminars too, to teach life skills. We do referral services, such as provide the participant and other organizations information that's in their community. So whether it's verbal or call or text, we provide them for what they need. We have also Educated Royalty, and that is a tutoring service, and it's K through 12 and college. My son, he's a teacher, and he does an awesome job at tutoring. So that was given to him by God about 4 years ago to do a tutoring service. So it's to assist students in achieving their full academic potential by making study sessions innovative, effective, and creative. So the tutor and the students will be paired by the subject matter that they need and common interests, you know, to make sure we keep them engaged, or he keeps them engaged. And they love him. I watched him one time and I'm like, boy, you are really good, you know. But it's also to provide quality and effective academic assistance to the students and the learners by using creative and innovative techniques and tutoring methods. So he relates to them according to their interests too, to make them want to learn. We also do activities to expose them to different cultures, implement social skills, and cultivate a sense of belonging. So sometimes a mother cannot afford to take her son to the play or take him to a sports arena. So we have some guys that might take, you know, a group of boys there, and it's free tickets for them to go. Because, you know, if a mom had 4 children, nowadays, how much tickets cost? $20 to go to the venue, and who can afford that, you know? So we try to build that family unity by designating them and promoting family unity. Because a lot of times, like a mother couldn't take all her children, but to let them know that she's human too, and they can have fun together, you know, going to the circus or whatever. We also do community service hours that's ordered by the court, or that you need for volunteering for school. You know, a lot of times schools, they recommended that you volunteer at a nonprofit. So we do community service hours. And we also do one-on-one parenting classes that are geared for court. A lot of times, you know, parents, some of them have to go to court for divorces or whatever. So we do one-on-one parenting classes.
Okay. Look, it seems like you have a full scope of social services there for the child and the parent.
Yes, and it's so important. And we do not male bash or father bash in our groups because they are so important. So we never allow that. You know, the father is always welcome. We encourage them to come, you know, to the meetings, any of them.
Okay. Before we get to Mr. Durant, who came up with that name, Educated Royalty? I like that.
He did, my son.
Your son did? Okay, you give him some props for me on that one. I like it. It's catchy. Okay, Mr. Durant, why is it important for boys and young men to have positive mentors? Mike, for me, all right.
The way I looked at it, when I kind of seen the question, I did research. I kind of tried to see what would be the best angle to approach such a question from. But after research, there are so many different numbers that substantiate why, that it all goes down to impact and influence.
Impact and influence.
Yes. So they have numbers that are showing that men without fathers or male role models in their life are likely to have kids earlier, not graduate high school. That there are so many different statistics that have been recorded, calculated studies that have been done. In my personal opinion, it starts at impact and influence. So, like we've been talking throughout this conversation, the youth needs someone to see, someone to actually. They didn't teach themselves anything. If you get what I'm saying.
That's true. They learned it somewhere. You're right.
So what they're exposed to and what impacts a different person makes on them will last them for a lifetime. I'm sure you remember things that you were told when you were a child that you probably still carry with you today, on whether they've been damaging or uplifting.
Right. Yeah.
So that's kind of the value and the importance in my personal opinion.
Yeah, and to your point, you know, young men, they do need to see these positive mentors and positive men doing positive things, because most time, especially in the inner city, what they see is not positive. The role models that are in the community, or the ones that they look up to because they're making so much money or what have you, are not positive. And so you're absolutely right to your point. So
I want to add something in there.
Yes, Ms. Norwood.
And also, a lot of times a boy will not come to their mother and express what they are experiencing. So who they go to, you know, they get that, they go to their homeboy and get the wrong information. So it's important that they have some positive male role models in their life to give them the right direction, because, you know, getting it from Buki, you know, that ain't right. That ain't the right thing to do.
Yes, Ms. Norwood, you're absolutely correct. Young men, stop getting life advice from Buki, okay? For the love of God. But you're right, you know, and a lot of times our young boys, they get a lot of their information from the streets, and a lot of the time the streets are not giving them good info. So, all right, Mr. Durant, what are some of the obstacles that our youth face that may hinder their development?
Right, so building upon what we've been saying again, identity. I think that's the first one. Identifying what a man is, identifying himself, identifying their role within society. Then social media plays a large part in that. So that's between peer pressure and other external pressures. But like you said, the role models they're exposed to and what they want to be right now versus who they should be or who they actually want to be. It's being guided by influence, being guided by the internal and external people kind of around them. Also expectations. Like going back to what you said again, when you look around you, your most immediate surroundings, you expect to be like the man over there. You expect when you're 30, I'm going to be him, or when I'm 20, I'm going to be like that. And if that's not the right thing, you're damaging yourself. And also, if it's not the thing for you, a simple one to be, and this is not an insult to any aspiring musician out there, but there's a million people that want to be rappers. Your best talent may actually be poetry. You may need to put a novel out there.
That's true.
But you expect it to do it the exact same way your most immediate visions did.
And that's usually what they're exposed to too. That's the only thing they're exposed to.
And that's crazy because my last point is lack of resources and exposure.
Yes, sir.
So basically what's available, and like you said, many Black men in particular are growing up in urban neighborhoods, urban communities, and the resources are, and now knowingly not there.
Right.
Technology isn't bought, the education in the schools, they're not hiring the best staff, they're not making the best books available, the best technologies, and when you on the way home, what you're seeing isn't much better.
Yeah.
So you don't really know how far your mind can go. Like me personally, as someone that grew up in Brooklyn, New York, I didn't know I was ever going to make it past Brooklyn. Like Brooklyn was my height, and I was. For
you kind of cut out on that last statement you made, Mr. Durant.
Can you hear me now?
I think you're freezing up on us. Let me go to Ms. Norwood. You still there, Ms. Norwood?
I want to add one thing on there, and something that can hinder their development, and that is, I believe that a father raises his sons and spoils his daughter, whereas a mother raises her daughter and spoils her son. We have a lot of boys that are spoiled by their son, by their mothers, because they're trying to. I know. Like if their father said he was gonna come and take them and do something with them, and they down and depressed, I'm like, oh, let me do this, So we're giving them, because of how they're feeling, So we're spoiling them in that way. Not saying all spoils are bad, but that is what I believe.
Okay. Yeah, my mom.
I did it with my son, but I spoiled them in a way to where they're independent. They don't come and ask me for any. I mean, they'll ask me if this really needed, but they don't rely on me to give them anything. So they were spoiled in the sense as far as I took them places, and did different things with them. But as far as being a man, they do provide and they do protect, as you said.
Yes, ma'am. Mr. Durant, what are some of the coping strategies that you teach the youth these days?
So the first one, I will go straight to acceptance and accountability.
Okay.
1,000,010 obstacles, so AA kind of gets you through anything like a battery, kind of like a quick charge. You can only control what you can control. So it's kind of just making peace or coming to terms with the fact that this is who I am, this is what I can do, and now you kind of process like that.
Okay.
So when in situations where things go wrong, don't point a finger first. I don't think that's a good quality for anybody. But what society will tell you, men in particular, shouldn't be making excuses. And when you're doing certain things, and I mean, they reference the early childhood numbers. You can find a bunch of young fathers, and a bunch of them won't tell you, I did this.
Right, yeah.
That level of accountability needs to be instilled from the start. And then there's a personal marker that I kind of coined.
Okay.
Bully. Believer in underlying lessons learned yesterday. It's a reflective mantra kind of rooted in every situation, every experience you have in your life, you can take something from it. So
believing, what was that again?
Believing in underlying lessons.
Okay.
Learned yesterday.
Lessons like that. That's kind of dope, bro. I like that. You came up with that?
Yeah, that's something.
That's pretty dope, bro.
That one, I claim that one as an original. So that one right there, the word keeps you a little bit aggressive, so you don't feel like reflect. Because people make, like we talked about earlier in the beginning of our conversation, reflection and stuff like that is soft, weak.
Right, yeah.
So bully lets you know you can still attack your life while still taking the time to learn from your experience and develop as a person.
Okay. Most definitely. Why is it important for young men to have good self-esteem?
So by definition, self-esteem is confidence in one's worth or abilities. And why doesn't anybody need that? I don't think that one right there is gender specific. I think, like I said, everything I do is rooted in individuality and just self-empowerment. So
Okay.
understanding and accepting who you are and your power within this world and owning that. And I think that young men, especially Black men in this current time, need that kind of reassurance, that kind of establishment from the foundational levels, because the world won't baby you.
It's not.
And you have to be able to take every punch. So that's where that confidence comes. You have to be able to kind of go over or under every hurdle, but you have to be able to continue to make sure that you're getting yourself through the next day. So that's where that confidence comes in, because people are going to try to put you down. Things are going to put you down. Accidents are going to put you down, but you have to know that you're the guy and you're all you got. So keep pushing forward.
Right. And what you just said made me think of a quote that I see a lot, that nothing great is ever achieved without confidence and enthusiasm. Okay. So that is the most important reason why. And a lot of our children don't have that for whatever reasons. I speak with children all the time, career days. I've worked with schools with their talent shows. And even at the talent shows where I work with children, and they're good, I would tell them to say, let me hear you say that you're good or how good you are. Nah, Mr. Cheeks, I can't say that. What do you mean you can't say that? Nah, you're not supposed to talk about how good you are at things. What? If you're good at something, why wouldn't you? I mean, you got to throw it in people's face, but at least speak up to your level of abilities and be proud and happy of it. And that was something I had to teach at the last elementary school that I did, the talent show for Snapfinger Elementary. So yeah, it's very important that these kids establish self-confidence and self-esteem at a very early age. Miss Penny has a question. Why do most folks look up to or allow their children to look up to celebrities or athletes as role models? Please do not mention, oh, she's talking to me. But why do folks allow people to look up to or allow their children to look up to celebrities and athletes as role models?
I mean, can you stop them? At this point in time, the only way to truly stop them is to take the kid's phone away. And most parents, and so I'm not the world's oldest person. I'm not the world's youngest person. I'm at that fine age line where parenting became more friend and comforting versus stern, raring and structuring. A lot of kids, I mean, a lot of parents today, and I've seen this myself because I know parents, they hand kids iPads and they say,
right.
So at this point, especially people aren't going as far as putting the parental parameters on the phone or any electronic device, what they're exposed to. You go on YouTube right now, by accident, even if they go on their parents' YouTube, they're gonna listen to a rapper. Or one video finishes and it'll go roll into a video you're not supposed to see. And
yeah,
that's so it's on the parent, it's on the internal space, it's on how you guys want to set the values and foundations for kids. Because there are certain kids to this day still can't get a phone till they're 10 or that are still waiting until 14, but the number of kids getting phones and iPads at 5, 6, 7 with unlimited internet access is on the rise.
Okay. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. Miss Norwood, I need you to jump back in here, please, ma'am. In your press release that you sent to me, there was a very profound line in it that I would like to discuss. That line is endangered species, extinction of our male youth. Why did you put such a profound statement in your press release?
Because the destruction of our Black male youth, as you turn on the news, you see it on via TV, radio, social media, including music. And what's happening? An outrageous and tragic insight of today's males, especially Black males, youth are being exposed to and submitting to negative influences, as demonstrated by the dangerous increase of police killings, antisocial behavior, school dropouts, drugs and alcohol use, sex behavior leading to deadly STDs, gangs, rampant criminal activities, bullying, and suicide. Yeah. You know, no segment of the United States population has been more studied and analyzed and explored exploited by the Black male youth. According to the reservoir statistics and academic studies indicate that a Black male youth potential is more is more being high risk and coming from a low to moderate income single female household that's raising a boy. So I mean, look at the statistics; they are there. So even as the Juvenile Justice Department predictions show that more than half of the nation's 5.6 million Black boys live in the fatherless households, and 40% of them which are disadvantaged, and the choice of the Black male serving time has nearly tripled in the last 3 decades. You know, that gives way to concerns about drugs and negativity that they are about around the family structure. As 70% of Black babies were being born out of unmarried mothers. Incarcerated rates, are soaring. So that's why we're losing our boys, and Mothers Raising Sons exists to saving our boys.
We are losing them, and I commend you and Mr. Durant for the work you do in the help saving the next generation. Now, do you have conversations with the students in your program about them being endangered species? And if so, what do they have to say when they hear something like that?
So that's something that we're looking to incorporate into this pilot moving forward.
Okay.
That's something like we were talking about in terms of making sure that it's a comfortable conversation and bringing that vulnerability out. So it starts with letting the youth know their value, their worth.
Right.
And then you kind of have to expose them to what's going on. So I work with another program, and we were actually working on something to whereas they wanted to show the Capitol videos, and they were questioning if that's something that you should show.
You're talking about the insurrection.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So being intentional about how we want to expose the youth to what this endanger situation looks like, to show them, this is what they want you to be. This is what they're saying you are. How do we pull more out of you or help you from your best potential and beyond what they're saying you can be? Because like the numbers you just read, they were astonishing. I watched your eyes go beyond the wall.
Yeah.
That point right there, how do the youth know how to not be that?
How do the youth know how to not be that? Okay. That's deep.
Yeah.
Go
I
ahead.
want to say something with that because I had my 6-year-old grandson this past weekend, and he knew about the first Black senator, Ralph Warnock, and he's like, he's so bad, and I'm like, why is he bad? He was listening to the commercials.
Oh my God!
I'm like, and I am like, are you serious? He's like, yeah, I'm for Trump. He's good. And I'm like, why you say that? And yes, and I'm like, I was just stunned by him listening to the commercials. You talking about letting them see what was going on. They see it. I mean, you was hearing it after, the commercials, one after another, the negative about each other. And he based his opinion on that. And I'm like, well, they didn't give you the whole story. They only gave you a few words of his sentence. They didn't, you didn't hear the whole thing. But yeah, and then not only that, I heard in one of his programs that he watched a cartoon, or it was an adult with cartoon texture. But they had Trump as a good guy. They had 3 teams, and the older guy, which was the dad, and he had his 2 sons. And yeah, they were like, yeah, you're gonna be Trump. And it's like, it's starting young, they getting them with the cartoons, the new programs that are coming. It's on YouTube, and they got millions of watchers. And that's one of his favorite shows. Yeah.
Well,
I know, I don't know why I brought that up, but it just stunned. I'm still stunned about it. I'm like, wow.
That's 6 years old. So that's how
right.
That's what's going on.
Right.
Yeah.
And that reminds me of the Malcolm X quote that says, the media will have you looking at the victims like they're the aggressors and have you looking at the aggressors like they're the victims.
Yeah.
That's what he was saying. You can't trust the media like that.
You sure can.
But
You sure can.
anywho, moving on.
Yes, let's
That's
move on.
another show for another day. Well, you also have a book on Amazon called The Manual. What is the manual about?
The manual, what it is, I traveled the country and I got stories from mothers that have already raised their sons, and to give their advice. Because to me, you raise your children differently according to where you live. So living in Georgia versus New York or California or Alabama, we raise our children differently.
Right.
And so the manual is an inspirational and informative guide for females raising boys and for their sons too, so that they can relate. So in the book, it is where the person or whoever's giving their testimony tells who they are and give a little description of their age and where they from, and maybe just a little bit about their past, and then they go into testimonies. So the testimonies is from A to Z. I mean, from their life experience, and to give some suggestions and ideas of what hindsight, what they could have, would have done. And now that they're older, they're doing something different, or they wish they had done something. So it's from ADHD, from anger, from blending families. I also have a story in there from this guy that he read about me in Gerald Levert's book, and he's in prison, for life.
Wow.
And he's been in there since he was 14. So he's been in there for 60 something years. And he asked me, could I put his story in the book? And oh my, the story is like, wow. And it's true though. He didn't shoot, it's about, he's shooting somebody when he was 14, and he was with this guy that actually shot the store owner. But he ended up being in life for jail because he didn't take a plea bargain, but his partner did, and now he's out, but he's still in jail.
You know what? This system is that's crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy, but he told this story, and I read it to a couple of audience, and they were like, the way he explained it, it was like, wow, so you have to be careful of the company you keep. So that's what the bottom line of the story was about, because he didn't shoot the guy, but he's still in jail for prison. I mean, he's in jail for life, and the guy that actually shot him is out. But it's the company that you keep. Yeah, so he wasn't going to take a bar. He said, I didn't shoot him. It's like, it didn't matter. It's who you was with. Yeah. So saying that, the book has a lot of stories, from gang involvement and, what to do and what not to do.
Okay. Thank you very much, ma'am. Well, this hour has flown by, and we've come to the end of the interview. I do want to thank y'all. But before we go, Ms. Norwood, could you please let our listening audience know how to contact you?